Creepy. Oh, you met Creepy Dave.
I met Creepy Dave. He has the most amazing scars I've ever seen in my life.
I met him here, and he used to fish, and then come to Seattle and have like way too much money.
It was kind of like having a goat, you know?
Right.
Hippies, goats.
But like, he had a hair.
Right. And so he just shakes his head.
Okay. Sure. I'm Kevin Cameron. I've lived here for 7 years. I moved in number 3, and I shared the communal bathroom for about 6 months, and then this place opened up here. Probably my red wall is my favorite feature.
Red wall.
I like your red wall too.
Yeah.
But I'm a nester. I get people look around and they go, "You have so much crap. Like, I'd hate to have this much crap. I'm trying to get rid of mine." And I said, I love all my crap. The only time it's a problem is when you move. Now, I haven't moved in 7 years, so it's not a problem. And it's only a problem for a day or two, and then you get all your crap back. A lot of this is some stuff from my family.
Yeah.
Like this was my great grandmother's, and the Mary was my great grandmother's. And, just having that stuff around, knowing that it meant that much to them, I like it. And I just had a lot of stuff, and so people would give me a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna do a little song on the 4th of July and on New Year's Eve. We would often go up to the roof and watch the fireworks because we can see south end of Lake Union and Elliott Bay both from here. So I should explain this. I have this sitting right here. This is a necklace that a friend of mine made for me, and I never wear it because it's just weird. But these are all chicken bones, and then these are teeth, and they're real human teeth because her dad's a dentist, and then when he pulls teeth, he gives them to her, and she makes stuff out of them.
Wow.
So I always call this my voodoo necklace. So I did wear it that night. So I put this outfit together and just decided I was going to take the bull by the horns and go out there and make something happen. So I put my outfit on, and I went out in the hall, and I went down the stairs, and went around the landing, and went down the stairs, and went through the lobby, and I was just going to go out there and make it happen. I went out the door, and got on the porch, and went down the stairs, and got on the sidewalk, and I looked one way, and I looked the other way, and did that a couple times, and just realized that I still had no place to go. Just nothing was hitting me. So I just came back upstairs. But I wrote this about the feeling I got walking down the stairs. So here it goes. This song is called New Year's Evil. 12:31, 10:59, and though I tried, I failed to find a party where I'll greet the air anew. In just 1 hour, the count will stop. The crowd will cheer, the ball will drop. But there's still one thing left for me to do. Put on my rockabilly jacket, red tuck shirt underneath, my voodoo necklace made from chicken bones and human teeth. I could fight the night back with a donkey jaw, a hand of glory, or a monkey paw. And I'll be wearing my rockabilly jacket, red tuck shirt underneath, my voodoo necklace made from chicken bones and human teeth. No, I pay tribute to the free table gods. My magic 8-ball says it don't like the odds. I tilt at windmills, sticking symbols to guide me through. And I'll be wearing my rockabilly jacket, red tuck shirt underneath, my blue necklace made from chicken
Fantastic.
Ow!
You're funny. Let's do that. Oh my god.
It's nice to have $500 rent. What is it that what else do you spend your money on?
I spend my time not working.
Okay.
I spend my money as time.
Then what do you do during that time?
I make art. I make books. I make these kind of book collage things. There's one actually behind you, kind of. And I do sewing, and I create stuff.
And I think I, like Jasmine, I think that what I spend my money on, other than rent, is not having money. Like, I think I just spend less of my time working, and that's important to me.
And what do you do?
For it, work?
Yeah.
I restore old school pinball games from the
cool.
60s and 70s, and then I operate them in cafes and bars and laundromats and youth hostels and stuff. That's what I do for money, and only mildly successfully.
I actually really like living across the street from Greyhound.
Oh, the noise?
I really like it. Yeah.
Does it
I
bother
think
you?
I think it's awesome. I think that it helps me feel connected to the outside world, because I think without it there wouldn't be much sound.
You know, just
It would be
freeway
really kind of quiet. And it's a kind of it's like the idling noises, or I like them in the middle of the night.
All the problems of the world are gonna have to keep, as the morning crow reminds me that it's time to go to sleep. An end has come to the hours that I've spent sawing through the bars. I can lean out of my window now and blow out all the stars.
Oh boy, it's been about 15, 20 years ago. I was hired by the Tomlinsons. They owned the Lillian, or they owned it until they recently sold it, I think last year. They own this property here. In fact, they own this whole block that we're on. Their plan at the time was to kind of go through on turnover. You know, when people moved out, we'd go in and we'd fix them up and, you know, somewhat renovate them. But most people that moved into the Lillian didn't want that. They wanted the funky, just leave it as it is type thing. And the owner of the property, she had a hard time with that. She just couldn't see why people would want to live with this old linoleum and old antique-looking carpets and stuff like that. People like that, you know, especially younger people, you know. They kept the rents down on all their properties. Yeah, it was. I admired them for that. I thought that was really a good deal. Kind of leaning that way towards a socialist. I mean, you got to look out for people. In other words, you can't just, you know, in a capitalist society. I don't want to get into a political thing, but yeah, there's got to be a balance. In other words, there's got to be a balance, and they had somewhat of a balance in the way they ran their business, and I like that. And they did keep their rents low on all their properties, at least all their residential or Lillian was one. So even if they fixed them up, they didn't raise their rent a little. And this is where they used to have garages right here. Little 1920s garages, you know, for little cars, you know, little narrow cars. But they were really neat. Old wooden garages.
It was right down in this lot?
Yeah. And they came one weekend and just bulldozed them all down, threw them in a truck and hauled them away.
I'm Sarah.
Sarah's home.
I'm the manager of the Lillian Apartments.
And,
Come inside.
okay, that's the front steps.
love this tile. It's like one of the only things that's kind of decent and original that's left. I saw a picture of what the building used to look like, and it had these really cool spindle railings on the porches, and it just made me really sad. It's just little details like that that make such a difference in what a building looks like.
When they were deciding whether or not to consider the Lillian for landmark status, and they said that one of the council members said, well, how many of these wood structures do we have? These 3-floor, walk-up wooden structures do we have in the city? And they said, we don't know. We don't keep track of those. We keep track of brick structures, but wood we don't know. And some of them, like the brick ones, well, that's a example of a specific architectural style that was built during a certain time period, and they would qualify. But this building, because it's wood, didn't qualify, although it was built for the laundry workers that work next door, and it's sad that it doesn't qualify because of that. Although we're a high-tech city now, we weren't always, and it was a working-class city for since its inception, logging and all that kind of stuff. So that seems more historical, to preserve a wooden structure, to preserve a low, like you said, low, cheaper building materials, that kind of a structure, but that doesn't seem to work for them.
It's an older building, and the architecture reflects that. I'm just a nut for the details, the radiators. I love the look of it. I love these boards. I love all the crown molding, the picture rails, the clawfoot tubs, just the sort of era, that just, it has soul. This building totally has soul. Even if parts of it leak when it rains really hard, there are a lot of things that you're willing to put up with for a place that really feels like home.
Yeah.
And this place really does.
It's very lived in. Like people, it's not like so clean. It's not corporate. Like there's cats running around the building, and like stray cats, and people feed them. And people have definitely made this place their home. So it's kind of a bummer that they have to leave.
I've had a lot of experience with low-income housing, and it's a lot different. There's no stigma about living in the Lil, It's like there's no bureaucracy or whatever. It's just like your own place, except the rent check that you write is a lot less, and your apartment's a lot shittier, But you put up with that because you have pride. It's your place, and no one's helping you out.
Yeah, I am kind of proud of the holes in the walls. I think that's pretty. I've never lived in a place with holes in the walls. You have to be invested in your living space, and I think that a lot of people aren't invested in their living space. Just the fact that you can rent a furnished apartment is shocking to me, and to some people that's the way it is. Like, that is what you do. You find a furnished apartment.
Right.
And for me, I'm just exactly the opposite, where I want a place that I can change or manipulate or create.
I guess it's like buying a pair of black shoes at a thrift store. They're all beat up, and you just sort of can imagine what they'd look like with polish on them.
Right.
That's when I see the Lillian, I think of that.
Rachel's sure that they
Didn't come down.
I just
You want to take my temperature?
She knew not to come down.
that was a.
Who wants to take the 5,000?
I don't think anybody really knows yet.
You don't know.
That's a tough one.
I mean,
It's kind of just a shock to everybody right now.
So when the news came down, they held a meeting to tell everyone, and they were not prepared at the meeting with pertinent information. Was this an announcement, an official announcement of eviction? Just important questions. I think they underestimated the intelligence of the tenants. They have no ability to conceptualize that someone might choose to live in an environment like this. So they just, from their actions, it seems to me that they just assume everyone that lives here has no intellect or choice.
Especially with payouts with tenants. Do you feel that was an ethical thing, or do you think that's sort of standard procedure for?
Is not standard. Most landlords who don't have the kind of resources that Paul Allen has would just issue eviction notice and then legally evict them. In his case, he could afford to pay and offer an enormous incentive to these tenants, $5,000 a household. As I say, it is the first step in his plan to very precipitously get that building torn down and eliminate the outcry, and thus avoiding also some of the costs and liabilities associated in his mind and their minds of managing and operating low-income housing.
I'm not happy with it, obviously, because I'm losing my home that I've spent so much time in. On the other hand, I do think it's a surprisingly generous offer.
What would you do if you were him?
I can't imagine being Paul Allen. I'm not sure if Paul Allen can imagine being Paul Allen either, so.
Yeah.
Just a guy who got really lucky and suddenly had billions of dollars.
Well, I get $5,000 and I probably need a new place to stay. I've been here for too long. So I don't really mind. It doesn't really bother me that much, I guess. I mean, Paul Allen kind of bothers me, but not really. I don't look at it as a threat for some reason, like a lot of people do. But I don't care. He's giving me $5,000 and I need a new place to live, so fuck it. I'm out of here.
That's kind of...
Hello. Ronnie fucking Boppo. I'm getting interviewed for a documentary they're making on the Lillian. My apartment building? Yeah. You know they're tearing the place down. But I'm right in the middle of that thing. Can I call you back? I moved in 94. $175 a month? No problem.
Yeah.
Shit, I could do that standing on my head. Old band flyers. Old band of mine, Los Hornets, played this one. South by Southwest in 98. An old band of mine, High Karate, played that. That was actually like 3 or 4 months before I joined that band. That's what I moved here for. I mean, you know, back in 1990, everybody, grunge, dude!
Right.
You know, and that was actually before all the big stuff hit. That everyone freaked out about it a year later when Nirvana got huge. It doesn't really turn a lot of gears for people, but for me, I just like that kind of shit.
Yeah. Living on the road and playing music every night.
Oh God.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the world like it. I mean, I'm sure after, you know, if it would ever happen, that I would have to make a living doing it and going out on the road all the time. I think it would just ruin it. I think it would completely ruin it.
Yeah.
Because these once-off vacations, going out on the road, I mean, you know, this 2-month thing would probably be a stretch, but we'll see.
Right.
I might just love it and then fucking just go.
We walk the floor like ants, and some call the colony home. I see them smile and laugh, loyal to the bone. Do they know a secret that I missed in the past? Will I see behind the veil and under
jump? Oh, that's not very high. Oh, jump. That's better.
All right.
Gets up there. Do you feel like the Lillian played a part in you guys establishing yourselves in Seattle? Or
Absolutely. It was the first place I ever lived in Seattle. My very first job in Seattle was at IBC, right, where I met you, which was 10 blocks away, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that was my establishment in Seattle, just that life, you know?
Well, in the years I spent living there by myself were the longest extended period of time I'd ever lived on my own without any roommates or anything. It was Melrose Place, you know. It was that demeans the whole experience, but it was a great community in that sense. If I'd walk away with one thing, it would be that sense of community that just was remarkable, absolutely remarkable.
No, it was fun because it was a big group of people that had known each other for a really long time, and through, you know, the circle of, you know, when you manage a building, it's just like I guess your friends just sort of tend to gravitate toward it, and on holidays people would open their doors and it would just be like a block party but within the building.
There is definitely a community,
right,
but it's not as soap opera bullshit as Melrose Place. Definitely not.
Right.
But at the same time, yeah, it's, you know, I mean, there's been people that have lived here forever. You know, it's not like we're out trying to, I want that fucking 2-story house with a swimming pool.
Right.
I'd rather spend my life making myself happy by playing that fucking banjo or, you know, doing something else. And money might make me happier in my old age, like my parents keep telling me, but I'll worry about that when the time comes. When I want money, I'll damn well get it. You know what I mean? When it's time to work, I'll work.
People are so busy working and paying outrageous rent that they can't put their time or thought into art or music or anything because it's just not accessible. And it's like, you know, an integral part of art and music or anything is cheap rent.
It's almost kind of like legendary around like the like little like arts community and music community, because it's just like one of those buildings that a lot of people have lived in at one point, or they know somebody that lives here or has lived here, and they're all really nice, good kids.
Blood Egg's a story in itself for sure. We have an incredibly strange shtick where we do songs about science fiction authors.
You, sir. That's very good. How about you? Burmese Days, that's very good. We haven't heard that one before. Animal Farm, one of my favorites right there. Now, as you'll find out tonight, so all bands are equal, but some bands are more equal than others.
The conversations that come out of playing in that band is just phenomenal. We get the funniest, like, closet sci-fi geeks to come out to shows and stuff. It's And then we also get all these people like re-interested in metal, kind of bring that like late 80s thrash that's deep-seated inside you out of you again.
Do you guys like ELO?
Yes!
Are we taking turns?
Sure.
I moved in here November of '94. Pat Riley was the manager. He was a sales rep at Caroline Distribution. He was Northwest rep, and I knew him because I worked at CZ Records, which was over on Yale, which is now gone. Like 4th of July. We used to have like
Oh God,
parties.
you've got some great photographs of
4th of
Lillian.
July, because people would put on their best centennial outfits, and we'd have
Like
like
a centennial outfit contest.
centennial outfit contests. Oh, when you got kicked out of Paul Allen's party.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah, let's hear some more of that.
I was like, I'm here to meet Paul Allen, because she was obsessed with like meeting Paul Allen, inviting him over so he can meet all the people he's eventually going to evict.
That was my plan. When you're drunk, you become obsessed. I'm terribly embarrassed.
And so Dre's like, I'm here to see Paul Allen. I need to speak to Paul Allen. And Dan Aykroyd says to me, Dre, that's not a good idea. And I go, Dre, why does Dan Aykroyd know your name?
I told him I was talking to Dan Aykroyd before he went on, and he was the one who was like, Paul.
She didn't make any sense that night. So the next day I'm like, Dre, what the fuck did you say to Paul Allen? Like, he owns a building. He could show up tomorrow with a wrecking ball. What did you say? She goes, I don't want to talk about it. I blew it. Paul Allen hates me. So that's my
Have you
version of
seen
the
Paul
story.
Allen, like, in the flesh? Was he
Yes!
there?
Yes, I talked to him and he wouldn't speak to me. He was just like,
I'm a billionaire, I don't have to talk to
he totally wouldn't, and he was using Dan Aykroyd the whole time as like his like go-between, and Dan Aykroyd's like, you can't talk to him. You can't talk to him. And I was like, what are you talking about? I can't talk to him.'s right there. Why can't I talk to him? That's stupid. Like I was like totally. Yeah.
And Dan Aykroyd says,
What would you say to him? What would you say to him?
That's not a good name.
That was before they went on stage.
What would you say to him? What would you say to him if you could?
All I wanted to do was invite him over for dinner.
What would that accomplish?
Have a little din-din with him. I wanted him to see the building. I wanted to like see the human. I wanted to like see him as a human. It really bothered me that he was like this huge millionaire monster, and like I wanted to like meet him as a person and like speak to him as like a regular guy, but it didn't. He wouldn't have it. I mean, and no one around him was like willing to help me. Drunk or not, I had good intentions.
Did Gina look hot?
Hell if I remember.
Heard Miss Callaghan lips? I doubt it.
Yeah, ouch. Hey, Jason.
I just want to add one thing. One here.
Ah.
One here. All right, now I'm out of here. I get back.
Did you find a place?
It's called Sureguard Storage.
Oh, sweet.
Well, we're leaving on tour, so
Oh yeah.
When are you leaving?
April 21st.
Shit, because they're trying to get me to organize a party here on the 26th.
I heard about that today.
I'm gonna miss my neighbors. God damn it.
See them around. Small town.
You know, I got the impression with all you guys having your rummage sale that it hadn't changed.
Yeah.
No, the feeling amongst all you know, jabbering away and, you know, some of us just talking about the past. And, I totally got the feeling that it was the same thing.
You know, I was unpacking everything and I was thinking, I wonder if I am going to be the last tenant in this very room. Like, this building's been around for 100 years, and I'm sure it's seen so many people, just such a long line of people that have been here, so many different stories, and I'm going to be probably the very last one, and I know now I am going to be the very last one. And at that point, I realized I started giving my apartment a little extra love, just like some last love from the last tenant.
Right.
So, you know, I definitely talked to inanimate objects, and I definitely talked to my apartment.
It had that kind of old industrial feel, and that's what I liked about it. It had some history, because Seattle really doesn't preserve that. They're much more apt to tear something down and rebuild than to remodel. And I like being around that. I like being around old things, and I like buildings that have ghosts that you can look down that hall and know that in the 20s somebody was locking down in. I like that feel, and I like being around that.
Every stick of that building should be saved. And it was old growth for God don't make it no more. Okay? Those beams and even the molding in the hallways even. It's unbelievable that nobody ever painted the moldings of the wood in the hallways. It's unheard of. And maybe it was because everyone who managed it or owned it was just lazy. Another point for laziness.
I'll never forget screen printing in that place. I've got pictures of like 100 Fugazi posters completely covering every flat surface of my apartment. They spewed out into my hallway, you know. I'm trying to keep my cat from walking on wet ink, you know, but then she's trailing it all over stuff. And just hilarious. I pretty much, you know, thank the Lillian for giving me cheap rent for 4.5 years. It's probably one of the main reasons why I was able to start my own business and like go, okay, no, I ain't working in the restaurant industry anymore. I'm just gonna try to make money and live on it, you know. And 3 years later, I've got a shop, you know, and a bunch of equipment.
You know, I didn't make very much money ever working, you know, owning an arcade and a junk shop. And that was okay at that time. But on the other hand, I turned 33 in my apartment and looked around and said, yeah, this is cheap, but I don't think I want to be here anymore either. So I kind of passed through all the stages of greatest thing ever to, I need to get my shit together. And
The Lillian was here when people like me needed it. And a lot of people my age needed it when they were 24, 25, 26, 27, whatever. I mean, living in a big city is hard. It's fucking hard. And it's really hard when the economy's not doing well. And it's just one less place that the network of kind of marginalized working class, single, young people who want to live in this area don't have anymore. You know, it's now everyone's got to go market rate or they got to go low income housing.
John Fox is my name. I'm the coordinator of the Seattle Displacement Coalition. We are a 24-year-old housing and homeless advocacy group here in Seattle, and we got involved in the Lillian when a couple of the residents and one of the activists from the community called us and told us about the fact that Paul Allen was abandoning the building. And to see that housing lost in that context without replacement housing is wrong. What makes this particularly significant is it's being, the plans are being undertaken by Paul Allen, one of the world's wealthiest men. If anyone symbolizes the kind of gentrification and redevelopment that we're seeing he does in his development company. The other issue is that we are in the process of trying to get a law passed that would prevent this from happening in the future. A right of first refusal ordinance. And this draws attention to the need for citywide legislation.
But if that mechanism, the right of first refusal, which means, if the building goes up for sale, which it did, the tenants would have the first right to buy the building. And that way we could retain our low-income housing. But otherwise, there's no way that that's going to happen.
Right, because no one else is going to want to, no one else.
The dew has settled on the ground. Sleep wraps round me like a blanket. My tightest coil has come unwound. Sunlight creeps across the carpet. The day seems anxious to be...
Cascade is a mixed-use neighborhood and comprises approximately 1/3 of South Lake Union area. Like other neighborhoods represented here today, Cascade and South Lake Union went to great lengths to develop their neighborhood plans. And it is of deep concern that these plans are being disregarded by the mayor's fast-track efforts to develop South Lake Union. Cascade contains one of the oldest neighborhoods in Seattle. As it has evolved, it has seen subtle change that has added to, but never dominated, the character of the neighborhood. The mayor's plan to turn South Lake Union into the biotech center of the universe is in direct opposition to that preface and needs some serious review.
And as I sing to myself, I can still hear the bells. I still hear the bells.
You know, there's these two houses too. Those are one of the few houses left. Those two single-family residential homes across the street. And those are going to get torn down. They have the same
Where are we going, Rachel?
Ray was going to do interpretive dance.
We'll let Ray do interpretive dance in the background.
Dance, woman. Well, it was kind of a dump anyways. And I'm sad to see it go, but at the same time, you can't fight Paul Allen.
How do you feel about all the things that are going on to save it? Do you think it's a worthwhile effort?
It is if they're feeling personally, personal gratification from it, but none of them live there in the neighborhood, so whatever. I mean, I'm glad they care, and I'm glad they want to fuck with Paul Allen, but I personally don't want to waste my energy because I wouldn't win. And I don't think that it's flogging a dead horse.
Hey, did you notice they put a fucking dumpster right smack dab in the middle of my garden? Real nice.
Fuckers.
Real nice.
Lastly, Rachel, what did you do with the money that you were given?
I'm saving it. Are you going to ask me for what?
Yeah, what are you going to save it? What are you saving it for?
A private jet.
Beautiful. Thank you. And while we're here, Dre, what did you do with your money?
Well, I had 2 weeks to get out of there so I could get the money. So I just took this apartment that costs $680 a month, which is way too much for a lowly teacher to afford. So it kind of went all to that, and it's kind of hard to pay that money because my apartment at the Lillian was $475 for a huge one-bedroom. You just can't find that these days. So.
That booze.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and then the booze. Oh, and I bought some really fancy shoes, and I called them Paul Allen shoes. And
Nichols is not our friend at this point on this issue, right?
I think we have reason to be worried. This is a guy who just participated in the fundraiser that Vulcan held in the neighborhood on his behalf. Our disclosure request showed that within the first 2 months of his tenure, the mayor had met with Vulcan 3 times. Early on in the process, the city should have stopped this outrageous behavior on Vulcan's part, done its assessment at that time of the costs of repairs. Had they done that and not added in these additional costs created by Vulcan's actions, then even by their own standard, they would have not come near this 50% threshold. But so there's evidence. My point is that it was collusion, active collusion. The record suggests active collusion on the part of the city to assist Vulcan to get the order to demolish, and circumventing the land use code and the underlying intent of these provisions was to preserve affordable housing. Are you against civil disobedience?
I was there all
I'm
weekend.
not against
Chuck E.
civil
Cheese.
disobedience, but in this particular case, I don't think that it
Ever? What if,
ever.
what-
No, in this particular
well,
case.
what if we are up against a wall and what if we lose the appeal and
Well, I mean,
What?
quite frankly, like, I'm going to be really blunt. I'm looking around this room and I'm not seeing very many people here.
Amen.
And I think what would be a better thing would just be to really, really focus very strongly on creating a database of people who actually care about this issue and seeing where we get with that.
Yes?
Pictures of them taking down these trees.
Yeah.
Because Phil Fuji promised those.
Did
So
he?
did Jim Suter 3 months ago promised Sandy, Sean, and Patty and I
Okay, maybe we should tell them that.
that we were allowed to salvage plants.
Okay, just a second. Hey, excuse me! Excuse me! Vulcan promised us that they would keep the trees on the site. So you need more directive because they were told that they would at least keep the trees. What?
What's going on?
Oh, Vulcan promised that they would keep the trees on the site.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Vulcan promised they would keep the trees on this
And they're going to be donated to our pea patch.
I would have done 6 months.
Hi, Mom. Wow. What are they going to put up here?
Oh my God. Well, Paul Allen owns it, and he won't tell anybody what he wants to do with this tree.
Root beer, salt, vinegar, chips.
Bye-bye, Jacob and Jasmine's house. Look at it. Come here.
From 1912.
Yeah, look, here's the date. Seattle Times, Thursday. And it's breaking, so it's so fast. Oh, here we go. November 27th, 1912.
How do you feel about that?
I'll ask, don't do that.
I don't know the people here very well, but we had a get acquainted, meet your neighbor lawn party, and I'm supposed to have another one in like a month, which is great. You know, it's a great idea. And met a lot of my neighbors, and my neighbor downstairs, as he's going in his door, he has an outer door. He would look up and he saw me painting in here, and he looked up and he said, "I like that yellow. What look are you going for up there?" I said, "I'm kind of going for a Mexican restaurant look, I think." And he said, "I might have something for you." And this was, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, this was on my porch, or on my front door. This creepy monkey pinata. This is my building, right here. And this booklet's called My Potty Mouth Neighbor. Because my neighbor, in this picture, she lives right up here. She does primal scream therapy every night. And she swears out the window. She goes, "Fuck you!" And I didn't understand what was going on. I just would hear it all the time, you know? And so I just had to do something about it. So I just started this booklet. And this says, My Potty Mouth Neighbor, chronicling the profane outbursts of the woman who lives upstairs, who sometimes sounds like a man. All the stuff that she says. And I just started writing down what day and what time she does it. And so I moved in on the first week in June. This starts on June 16th.
I mean, I feel like personally I've kind of moved on now. I mean, in a way, I should have moved about 3 blocks, but so my life hasn't changed that much. I have to pay more rent. But I guess I kind of feel sad just for the city losing affordable housing. Because I know that's, you know, whatever goes in there after the Lillian's destroyed, it's not going to be some place where working class people are going to be able to live.
How do you feel about what this group has been doing to sort of keep it around?
I'm glad that someone fought for it. I think everyone kind of expected that it was doomed, but I think maybe they raised some issues during their campaign to try and save the Lillian that maybe will, you know, get people on like city council or in the city government to start thinking more about this. Might make developers a little bit more leery of high-profile cases like this. I did have some regrets right after I moved out, feeling like I should have just said, you know, fuck the money and, you know, make them fight to get one last person out. But in fact, I was the last person out, the last person to sign off and officially turn over the keys and everything. Of course, this was after they'd already boarded up all the windows and changed the locks in the door, so I guess they were hoping that I would agree. That was the other thing is, if I stopped at that last moment after they'd already done all that shit, I probably could have really fucked with them. But I don't know. I was just in kind of the daze at that point. I remember that last afternoon when I came over to, you know, sign off and just like walking through the halls and, you know, walking into empty apartments that had great friends who lived there and just being kind of sad. So I guess I was more sad that I'd been pissed off at that point, which maybe is too bad, because if I would have been pissed off, I might have done things differently. But
So how do you like the new place, Rachel?
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's cozy. It's old. It's still in the Cascade neighborhood, and Paul Allen owns everything but this house. So if worse comes to worse, and I talk to the landlords about this, you know, at least the owner of this building's being smart and holding out, and he'll probably get more money rather than selling out earlier. So if worse comes to worse, I just get more Paul Allen money. I could probably live off that for a long time.
So
getting closer to the private jet.
Rich, maybe that's it. I'm gonna get. I haven't even seduced any women here, isn't that? Not one? Not one. Not one. Well, my apartment was like a little dusty, you know what I mean? Aside from all the time I've been able to spend alone, which I haven't been able to do in the past, see the roommates and stuff like that, I'm gonna have to say the Lillian after hours. Great.
Hearing or that? Oh my god. Letting them. All of our letting them.
He's like a useless goat. Oh, just smokes dope and has loud sex.